Hi guys, so today I wanted to talk about some of my travel experiences, and I was thinking back on all the different places that I've gone to and the different things I've done, and I wanted to talk about my experience in Iceland and when I went dog sledding. So I think that Iceland has become a really popular place to go to as of late. And you know, there's a lot of the common places that are really popular to go to. Some of the things I've done was going horseback riding on the Icelandic horse, and so this is a very common thing to do. Iceland has an Icelandic horse that's smaller than the average horse, and it's very common to go horseback riding there, and that's something that I did and I actually really loved it. So I definitely recommend doing that, especially if you're a horse lover. That's like no even second thought. But that's something I recommend even if you're not as into horses. They're a lot smaller, and so it I think is less intimidating to ride a horse. But I'm getting off topic. And so you can do some horseback riding, and you can also tour the South Island. For me though, I want to specifically talk about my experience going dog sledding in Iceland, and I think that that's an experience that not many people do, and I think it's really fun and something that I think the average person has not done, and so doing it in Iceland I think is all that much cooler. So I went twice to Iceland, and when I went dog sledding, it was the first time that I had been to Iceland, and I believe it was in the summer of 2017, I believe, summer of 2017. It was a few years ago, but yeah, I wanted to try something different in Iceland. I love animals, so any kind of tourist activity I can do with animals that's ethical, I always want to do, and I love dogs especially, so I wanted to try this out. Iceland's known to being a colder climate, so I was thinking, oh, maybe they have dog sledding. The idea just popped in my mind. I googled it, and I was able to find a dog place. So they're called Dog Sledding Iceland, and so when I was in Iceland, I actually traveled alone, and so when I went dog sledding, I just went alone. They were super nice, and it wasn't like awkward at all, even though I was worried it would be. And so there was like another couple and maybe another person or two, very small group, but it was very chill, very relaxed. And when I went, it was the summer months, and so there was no snow, and I was worried that that would ruin my chances of going dog sledding. But in reality, they have sledding that's the traditional type on snow, and then they have dry sledding where they have this kind of cart and it has wheels, and it's not as, I think, cool as the traditional snow sledding, but it's better than nothing, and I still thought it was really cool. And I like that they were able to modify it for it to work year-round, because they probably know that most tourists do go in the summer months, and so I thought that was still really cool to be able to do that at least. And the cart was pink, which I think was really fun. When I did go though, it happened to be pretty bad weather, so it was cold and windy and rainy, but they didn't cancel on us, and so we got these big orange jumpsuits to protect us from the weather, and we looked slightly ridiculous, but you know, protected us from the rain, and we were still able to go, so I accepted it. I also wore the same thing when I went horseback riding, so I guess it's just a thing in Iceland. If it's bad weather, which happens quite often, like in rain and whatnot, you're gonna wear a giant orange jumpsuit. Maybe it's a different color, but for me, for some reason, both times when I went horseback riding and dog sledding and it was raining, they're both giant head-to-toe orange jumpsuits. It was a 45-minute tour, and I went later in the evening, but it was still light out. It was off the south coast of Iceland, which is where most of like the touristy things are anyway. You got to stop midway through the ride and play with them and let them take a rest and take pictures and whatnot, which is where I got a lot of this footage. And then just riding is fun because they have so much energy. They want to run. They're so restless. They want to keep going. They're barking. They have like so much tense energy that they have to get rid of. And this, you can tell that this is like what gives them life. This is what they were bred to do. And these dogs, they are from Greenland, the type of dog that they are. So they are Greenlandic dogs, not necessarily like huskies. So they're Greenlandic dogs that were traditionally used by the Inuit people of Greenland. And so they were able to get some of those dogs who are already bred to be able to handle the harsh climates that Iceland and Greenland offer year-round. And so they have this really thick coat. And so they didn't, you know, wear any protective gear because their coat is more than enough. But yeah, they were absolutely adorable, very, very nice. So I definitely recommend doing something like that outside of kind of the normal things to do in Iceland. Other things that I recommend doing in Iceland though are horseback riding on the authentic Iceland horse. Also exploring downtown Reykjavik. I feel like so many people go to Iceland and they do all the nature spots, which I do agree on going. Both times I went, I didn't rent a car. Like, I was on my own. I didn't really feel comfortable just like renting a car and driving in these harsh climates alone, because if something would have happened to me, I would have been alone. So I kind of stayed in Reykjavik, which is the main city of Iceland, and where most people stay. And then I just did day tours around. Iceland's not giant, so you're able to see a good chunk of the island by staying in Reykjavik and just doing day tours. And so that's what I did, and I actually really enjoy downtown Reykjavik. It's quite a small city actually, or town even, not city, and just like window shopping. They have some museums. They have the Harp, which is like kind of like their convention center or place for the arts, but I also just think it's a very beautiful building. And so checking that out, checking out the waterfront, taking like their hop on hop off bus tour, and then obviously there's the classic tours like I mentioned, just, you know, going to the South Island, seeing like the geysers, seeing the mountains. If you're there in the winter, which I have not been, I really want to do this, but seeing the northern lights, definitely recommend. Also better time to go dog sledding probably, but still good in the summer, still recommend. And then of course the famous Blue Lagoon, which is halfway between Reykjavik, the city that most people stay in, and then the airport. And so that's also a place that I recommend. I've been there both times, especially when it's cold. Blue Lagoon's so warm and just feels good on the skin, and it's just such a relaxing thing to do. It's definitely gotten touristy and it's definitely a bit pricey, but I feel like if you're going to Iceland, you got to do it at least once. It's one of those things. It's like you can't go to Paris and not go to the Eiffel Tower, you know? I don't know if that's a good comparison, but yeah, that's kind of just my story about when I went dog sledding in Iceland. I thought I'd recap on a fun travel story while in quarantine and talk about it. I found all this cute footage of me petting the dogs and loving the dogs, and I wanted to throw this video together and talk about it. And maybe once we're able to travel again and people start going to Iceland, maybe they can go dog sledding. The people that work there are also incredibly nice, not just the dogs. And also just throwing some ideas for what else to do in Iceland. That's my story with the dog sledding. Maybe I'll do some more videos on just some memories of me traveling and doing fun things. I have lots of fun stories, depending on what footage I could find. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and talk to you next time. Bye.